Hello, everyone. I am with a top eight, who placed top eight, I should say, at the most recent Carta Magica regionals um, on October 26th. And they're on Eggman, so they're famous now. If you could briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Daniel. Yeah, I played Sardic Luffy, on the recent online regionals, and I placed, I think it was sixth place, so
Yes.
pretty good record of 9-1. Um, yeah, happy to participate as like my second online regional, so happy with my performance. Yes.
Awesome. And surprisingly, there were so many purple Luffys after seeing Eggman's list. I played started deck 14 as well, but I faced two Luffys and it was very sad for me. Did you verse any of them?
No, actually, I ended up dodging all of them. Uh,
Very nice.
yeah, most of my matchups were, I think it was like two Luccis, like
Hmm.
three black yellow,
Hmm.
two Bonnies, a Perona, a
And
Nami, and a Yamato.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Very nice. Very nice. Congratulations. You got your Shanks, your Rebecca, Vivi, and Shirahoshi. So all three waifus that I'm sure can sell fairly easily, I would say. Um, so yeah,
I hope so.
most likely. So yeah, I guess we could get started with your breakdown of your list, and just your reasoning, your thoughts for each of the cards that you play.
Yeah, sure. So there's like a couple of ways you could build, Black Luffy. I think there's like some Animal Kingdom builds and Navy builds.
Hmm.
So I went with the Navy build. So I have your standard, brand new search. Your set of 2Ks. I have Suru, T-Bone, Tashigi. There's some lists that play like four Tashigis, two
Yeah.
T-Bones,
Hmm.
or three and three. I opted to go for four T-Bones
Hmm.
and two Tashigis. I think I like rarely would play Tashigi down for like the -2.
Hmm.
I think if you like really needed the -2, I think that's why everyone is like playing four of Surus. This is like a lower investment to get
Yeah,
the -2.
for sure.
But I do find the KO ability of T-Bone to be used frequently, I guess. This
Hmm.
is like a last resort KO, but if you play against like Zoro or just something like maybe even I think I use it often in Black Yellow if they play a 5 cost
Hmm.
to reduce it and then KO it with a T-Bone. If I don't have the Brook or the Sanji,
I
but
see.
grouping these KOs together, you see things pretty frequently
Hmm.
and help make smoother plays instead of letting it
That's
survive and
fair.
keeping this as a 2K.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, 10 2Ks in this with a brand new search. You also have your four Kuzans. I think the game plan, at least the way that I approach using Black Luffy, is try to outvalue your opponent.
Hmm.
Once you become a 6K leader, it's like harder for them to like invest, Dawn to attacks, at least with their smaller guys. But you have so many blockers, you have Gecko, but Kuzan is like your super value card. You play this thing, it draws a card, and it's like a card your opponent basically has to answer, or they could get potentially punished by it. So definitely play four of the Kuzans.
Hmm.
Um, Outside of the Kuzan, let's see what else other navies. I have two Ishos. I think Isho also like contributes to that game plan of like trying to outvalue your opponent. If you get to go second and play this on 8, and your opponent meets the condition of having,
Yeah.
6 or more cards, having like to rip 2 cards from their hand at random, potentially hitting like really key cards,
Hmm.
but then also forcing them to have to answer this next turn because this is another like a Kuzan where this thing cannot stay on board.
Hmm.
So then they'd have to use like 2 cards to remove it, like either Ice Age Jack, or something. So this is like contributing more to them having to use up a lot of their cards to answer, a ton of like the cards that I play.
Hmm.
For Ice Ages, I think this one here is pretty standard. Um, I think earlier on there was like some lists that were playing like 3 Ice Ages and like taking other cards, but
Yeah,
um,
you just want to see that.
yeah, Ice Age at 4 just increases your navy consistency with brand new, but I think Ice Age and Jack is like like a really, really good like play that you want to see often.
Hmm.
Um, right now, there's like a lot of the the threats, I guess, that you'd face are like 8 costs. So Jack Ice Age is like that perfect answer for everyone's 8 cost.
Yeah.
So if you play the mirror, they have Isho, Ice Age Jack. Or if someone plays out of Moria, Ice Age Jack. It's like very good. I really need to see at least like one Ice Age whenever I play against I think in like just about any matchup except for like Zoro. But
Yeah. It's useless in
um
Zoro.
yeah. I have 8 blockers. I have the 4 Rebecca, 4 Sabo. I think 4 Rebecca is pretty standard.
Hmm. Yeah.
This is like such a good card in black, but I don't really use it as much as like as it's not as good, I guess, like compared to Lucci, where Lucci can like play stand-in, and then bring out a Lucci. But if I have a Rebecca in hand, sometimes like I'll get Sanji back
Hmm.
on Tendon, if I need to like KO something and play a little defensive. I think that's one play I could do with Rebecca. Then the obvious Rebecca Brook. If you have Ice Age early on, you could pop
Hmm.
a 6 cost or less. Pretty good combo, but I would say most of the time because I'm trying to play a value game, I usually just grab back like a 2K. But you do have options with the Rebecca. Sabo for Sabo, I think Sabo is really good. Um, I think this is like the key card for the black matchup.
Yes.
But also if you're playing against like a Stolier deck or someone
Hmm.
who's also trying to value you, Sabo helps you fix your hand early on so that I could find my Ishos, my Ice Age, my Jacks because I just basically want to play like big threats
Hmm.
right after another late game. Um, so definitely 4 Sabos. See here, yeah, because there's not that much room left, I feel like a lot of these cards are, must-haves at
Yeah.
like 4 Geckos, 4 Rebecca's, 4 Sabos. Um, I had like a little bit of room for some tech options.
Hmm.
So I have only 3 Sanjis. I had this at 4 at one point, but I dropped it back down to 3, only because this card does not have counter.
Yeah.
I find myself, with too many Sanjis, and there's like not that many opportunities to play Sanji like really late game
Yeah.
when you'd prioritize playing like Gecko, Jack,
Hmm.
or Isho. So 3 was like that number where you'll like find it early game just to play one.
Yes.
And then late game, I find them like not really using them as much. But you could always cycle it with Jack. But I
Hmm.
didn't want to have too many, Sanjis and having to filter them out with Jack and be
Yeah.
non-counter in my hand. But this is a really, really key card, I think, that in some matches you gotta try to mulligan for it.
Hmm. Okay.
And then I think my last card here is
Robin.
Robin.
Yes.
Yeah, Robin, this is one of these like supreme value cards. I think of this like a taller Kuzan.
Hmm.
If this thing is on board, this thing is like if your opponent does not answer this, I think they just lose the game.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because like Rebecca Jack is just like free pop at 8 cost every turn.
Hmm.
No more card investment. So if these two are on board, you just like won the value game.
Yep.
There's nothing your opponent can do. And it's like with your leader ability, Robin becomes a 7, and it's like really tricky to remove for non-black.
Hmm.
Like if you play against like Purple Luffy, they can't even Big Mom this.
Yes. Big Mom
6 is
more
like that
Kaido.
tricky number. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you can't even Gravity Blade it.
Yeah.
So this is like really really tricky to remove, and if someone tries to swing into this, it's just like really hard, especially if you have like a blocker or it's
Hmm.
just like easier to counter out of it to keep it alive. But I'll say this card is key in the yellow matchups.
Hmm.
So if you're playing against like an L, Pudding, or yeah, I think those are or Katakuri. This is like a reusable Ice Age,
Hmm.
and you need this to like answer, big moms coming down every turn.
So you'd only use that after playing Jack, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that because I'm not playing stage
Yeah.
in the black build
Hmm.
for Luffy. I don't have a way to activate Robin,
Yeah.
without having like an A cost already on board. If
Okay.
at stage you could do it and then
Hmm.
maybe leverage it with Brook, but yeah, I need to have a tall body on board,
Mhm.
and it really only pairs up well with Jack.
And were you ever interested in playing Laboon? Like I played that briefly in my starter deck 14 list. It felt pretty nice, but it's not a taller body as well.
Yeah, I think that the I think it depends on what matchup you feel like you want to tech more towards.
Hmm.
I feel like Laboon, with the -4, I guess you could reach a 5 with
Hmm.
the Brook,
Yeah,
which could be like a pretty decent early play.
yeah.
Um, I don't think that there's like any really heavy like 5 cost bodies that you absolutely need to remove that, I guess like Sanji could have done the trick for.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of like that -4, I think the -5 is like that extra one minus
Yeah, it does
helps
matter.
you reach
Yeah.
like that key target number 8,
Yeah.
where the 8 costs are the threats that
Hmm.
you find yourself having to remove.
I see.
I think that like a Hody, if you're playing Bonnie, I think it's a 7 cost, but
Yes.
it's like its effect has already happened.
Hmm.
Like obviously it's hard to like swing into it, but the I feel like the reduction on it to KO it is a little bit more achievable
Hmm. It
than,
is.
but 8 is like trickier, especially with this deck where we don't have like that -1 with Lucci.
Hmm.
So Laboon might make sense to me at least in the Lucci matchup. Like if you were Lucci, having Laboon because you could
Yeah.
get that extra -1 with leader. But if you were playing the mirror, our 8 costs are now 9 cost.
Yeah.
So now Laboon is like asking you to find another
Ah,
-2,
true.
to reach the 8.
True.
So it's like a delicate balance. And I do have the Kuzans, to achieve the -4
Hmm.
earlier game. But to reach like the 10 costs, if you ever face, a chain of big moms,
Hmm.
I think that extra 1 cost is going to make a huge difference in being able to reach that number.
I see. That's fair. Okay. Nice. So I guess going in regards to your record, 9-1, what was your one loss? We could start with that first.
Yeah, so I lost to the Black Yellow Luffy.
Hmm.
He actually was the one in the finals. He lost in the finals, but he made it to the finals. So congrats to him. I think the match I had lost played against him. I guess he played pretty well.
Hmm.
I lost the dice roll, but he had I guess like a unusual sequence of turns. Where I feel like when I play Black Yellow and they take second,
Hmm.
I guess like their turns are usually predictable. Like if they're on 4 Dawn, they'll play like Kuzan, and
Yes.
then on their 6 Dawn, they'll play like a 5 cost brother. Um, but he ended up using Makino turn 1,
Hmm.
and I didn't realize, but he found the 5 cost brother in life, and he had the baby in hand.
Oh, so
so
perfect for
then
him.
on so then on his 4 Dawn turn, he played the baby, became a 7K base leader, and brought out the 5 cost Luffy that gains like 2K by trashing a
Yes.
life and drawing a card. And by him doing that so early, he was able to get down to 2 life.
Hmm.
But then I would be on my 5 Dawn turn, and I didn't have a way to answer the 5 cost on my 5 Dawn.
I see.
There is a way I could have done like Ice Age Brook to KO it, but I didn't exactly expect the that sequence to happen. I think I had maybe like a Sanji in hand,
Hmm.
and I couldn't activate it on 5 because I didn't have the stage
I see.
or the extra Dawn on the leader. So then that Luffy ended up surviving to then him go back into his turn, to use the ability
Hmm.
again, and it got pretty rough because now there were like 8K swings coming at me and the leader swings, and it was just too much tempo.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Oof. Good thing I didn't verse something like that, thankfully. Um,
But the other 3 black yellows were pretty standard as like what I expected. I
okay,
think I lost the
nice.
dice roll on all of them, but none of them did that like
I
extreme
see.
tempo play.
And for the most part, you just starved them, right? You didn't never really hit them until your late game after you like KO'd a lot of their bodies.
Yeah, I think against the black yellow matchup, um, your chances of winning like increases based off like the number of geckos they didn't see.
Hmm.
Like if they only see one gecko,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to play like 2 babies, by
Hmm.
hand and then
Yeah.
trash one. So that's
Yeah.
like 3 cards that is you're asking of them
Yeah.
to to be able to become that 9K leader. But if they don't see the geckos, so the
Okay.
game ends up, I guess, coming down a little quicker.
Okay. Nice. And I guess next we can do the match that got you into top eight. Bonnie. How was that matchup?
Yeah, Bonnie, that was my last matchup. Ended up winning the dice roll
Mm-hmm.
against Bonnie. I think I'm favored into Bonnie, even if I go first or second, but definitely prefer to take second against
Significantly
Bonnie.
easier, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did take second and had a pretty decent curve. I think I had Kuzan into like Rebecca
Yeah.
Brooke into I think I Isho then. Oh no, I think I played Jack into like Isho and then like a Gecko.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean just like that's like the perfect curve almost
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Luffy. They did the best that they could. I think they started like turn one. They played a searcher. They couldn't rest it, so
Mm-hmm.
I think I swung into their leader. Oh no, wait. So yeah, turn one they played the searcher. They didn't use ability. Turn two, I think I just passed, and
Okay.
then on their three dawn they used a searcher to find another
Mm-hmm.
searcher, and then they had two rested searchers on board.
Okay.
But the two searches they ended up searching just 2Ks. So I don't
Oh,
think
okay.
they didn't yeah it didn't really help their game plan unless
Yeah.
they already had it in hand. But then on their turn three, I think they just used another searcher.
Oh,
Oh no, wait, never mind. They were on five dawn.
yes.
They had played Cavendish,
Okay.
and I had to answer that Cavendish with the
Mm-hmm.
Kuzan, but
Okay.
I did, and that's when I played Rebecca Brooke
Okay.
to pop it.
Nice.
But then on their seven dawn turn, they played Hody,
Mm-hmm.
and they rested my Rebecca, and they went all in to to kill my Kuzan.
My God.
Um, and based off my hand, I had one Ice Age.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, and I had the Jack. So on my eight
Yeah.
dawn turn, technically I could have answered the Hody with the Jack, but I opted out to save the Kuzan, and I
Yeah.
gave like two Ks for the Hody swing and 1K for the Bonnie swing to save the Kuzan because especially against the Bonnie matchup,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna start playing really tall bodies, and I didn't have a Rebecca
Mm-hmm.
or a Robin in hand, so I needed to use this Ice Age for a bigger threat.
Okay.
Because if they had dropped Zoro and I had no way of KOing it, then I could potentially, have my board cleared.
Yeah, you'd be
Um,
screwed.
so so that's why I opted to save the Kuzan at that moment. But I had a Gecko in hand,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I had Gecko, Isho, Jack, and Ice Age. So I gave all of my counter, and those are my last four cards.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Because I knew that I would, get the value back
Mm-hmm.
after having countered out. And I knew that if I did that, Kuzan would just die next turn
Yeah,
because I had no counter.
I see.
Um, so I opted for that play. But yeah, I did the Kuzan into Jack, KO'd the Hody, and then I think their following turn they played I think like Carrot
Mm-hmm.
and Rouge,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I just played Isho, made him trash some cards, put a Dawn on the Isho, and was able to KO the four cost with Brook
Mm-hmm.
and KO the five cost with Jack. So I had like
Nice.
kept their board pretty cleared. And then I think they played a Dofi, and I think I used the Ice Age for that Dofi. I
Mm-hmm.
think the Kuzan was dead, and I must have gotten a minus some more reduction, I think, from something else. But yeah, after that Dofi died, I don't think they had.
Any plays?
I think they were just done. I had like a pretty wide board. So I think I had like Geckoed into Rebecca
Oof,
after I killed their Dofi, and it was just it was done.
that's brutal for that matchup. Nice. Okay. Some other notable matchups I'd say for you were, of course, Lucci, and I guess there was a fun one,
Played that
Yamato,
Nami.
Nami as well. I think those three are
Hmm.
the most like ones people want to know about. I would say you did face a Perona, but I feel like Perona isn't really as seen as much right now. I think
Hmm.
the other three are more important. So I guess first we could start off with, I would say, Yamato, then Nami, then Lucci. So we could do it Yamato
Hmm.
first.
Yeah, sure. So I before I played Black Luffy, I actually was a Black Moria player,
Mm-hmm.
and Black Moria came out, at the same time as Yamato. So that was like
Yes.
a matchup that you would see pretty frequently, and I guess you learned the matchup. So I just played that matchup as if I was like Gecko Moria. I would try to have like I would always take their first swing. So I mean, even if I like won the dice roll,
Hmm.
I would still give them first.
Okay.
I still wanna go second. Um, so going second, I try to have as many two kisses as I can,
Hmm.
but I had a Kuzan, which helps me draw a card, and just you want to be able to have a lot of cards in your hand to basically find the two Ks and maybe like one or two blockers and a way to KO anything that they play.
Okay.
Against the Yamato matchup, you should take. I think you should always take the first swing. There's like a couple of scenarios where maybe you don't. Like if your hand was like three 2Ks and you had a Rebecca,
Yeah.
maybe you could counter out of the first swing,
Hmm.
and then on your four Dawn turn play the Rebecca and grab back a 2K so that you technically just countered their first swing with one card, which I
Hmm.
think is like efficient. Um, because you by doing that, you can now freely attack into their life with like a lower chance of a body coming out.
Yeah, I think most of the cards require like 3 or less life in
Yeah, the guy that
Yamato.
I played, he did have a Charlotte Cracker.
Okay, Cracker makes sense.
He,
Yeah,
he he countered with it, but yeah, it wasn't in life,
I
so that
see.
that was good. But that's like the only thing that could trigger, and it's like a
Yeah.
really low chance. So you're more likely to be like okay with swinging into their life.
Okay.
But since I took the first one, I was like a little bit more cautious about attacking into their life.
Hmm.
Um, I think I didn't swing into their life the first turn, but then the second turn, after I had already established the Kuzan, I was like fine with attacking
Okay.
because if a body came out, like I needed to KO it.
Hmm.
I think Yamato has like a higher chance of winning if they get like a body to stick to swing with you, to swing with their following turn
Yeah, for sure.
because they get to take advantage of the two extra Dawn, and that's
Hmm.
like a really hard like it's gonna be really difficult for you to be able to counter that and the leader swing. So then you end
Okay.
up taking one of those. And if you did take one of those, and I guess you take the character swing, but it would put you at an even life. And against Yamato, you don't want to be at an even life because then that's just two swings, for you to
Hmm.
go for game if you're
Yep.
at two life. So that's like really scary, and I try to KO their board every time.
Okay.
But against that matchup, they did get a lot of triggers. They got
Oof.
two Okikus, they got an Arlong to come off life, and they got a Noah's Ark
My
off of
God,
that
that's
too.
crazy.
So there was a lot of pressure there. There was a moment where I had no life,
Hmm.
and my Rebecca was rested because of Noah's Ark, and the Yamato just won 15 to face.
Oh
But
my God.
luckily I had five 2Ks to counter out of it because that
Hmm.
was a 6K base. But after that, I basically had to go for game,
I
and
see.
I had a Gecko, a Jack, and a Brook and a Sanji for
Okay.
attackers, and they were at two life, I think.
Okay. Oh wow. Nice. So glad you
Yeah,
made that out. That's a scary matchup since they could go so fast.
yeah, but they
Um.
also made a lot of errors,
Oh yeah.
and I let them. So the player didn't know how that Jack was like an 11 cost to get
So
to
weird.
+4,
Yeah.
and they tried to Electrical Luna the Jack, and they played it, and I sort of told them like, Jack's like 11. I know it's a
Yeah.
7, but it's like his ability, gives him +4. And I let the player take back the play. They did. I guess. I mean, it's kind of surprising that they
Yeah.
haven't seen Jack to know its
Mm-hmm.
ability, but um, they also tried to play the 3 cost Ezo to rest my Rebecca when I had a Dawn on leader, and I told them it was
Yes.
5 cost, and they were like, "Oh, I didn't realize your leader ability did that," and I let them take back those two plays.
Oof.
Um, but I guess the game would have been a lot easier if
Yeah.
if I let them just like keep the mistake.
If you lost if they and you let them keep those mistakes, oh, I'll be so tilted. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
Would
know.
not have finished 9-1.
Yeah. So yeah, everyone never let your opponent take it back for a regional. I would say at least. Anything else like locals, I don't think it matters too much. But for like important tournaments, just you gotta be firm. I would say.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, for next we can do Nami. I think a lot of people hate the Nami matchup. It's just you're literally versing against yourself. It's not that fun. So yeah, how did you? I believe you did that. It was like your second to last match, right?
Yeah, that was my eighth.
Mm-hmm.
eighth round, yeah,
So
or I guess
that's
like
really scary.
ninth round if you consider the 10th round
Yes,
being
ninth
Bonnie.
round.
Yeah,
Okay, how was that?
yeah. So Nami, I guess just going into Nami, as a black,
Mm-hmm.
I guess specifically Black Luffy, it's an unfavorable matchup. This
Mm-hmm.
is not, I guess like don't go in going like, even if you have like a game plan, it's not like guaranteed to beat Nami.
Yes.
Our only chance of beating Nami, at least with like a higher chance, is taking second from
Mm-hmm.
them, um, and hoping that they don't get like two good triggers off of life. I think if you get those conditions, you have a chance.
Okay.
Um, so it's like there's a lot of things, to make that matchup work
Yeah.
to win. But going second, ideally what you want to do with the Nami player is you want to have keep their hand size from like not being too large.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like if they have over six, try to get it down a little bit lower.
Okay.
But also don't let Nami have too like make sure they have like some number of cards in hand. I want to say at least like more than four or five.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends as to what you've seen so far. I mean, if it's late game and Nami only has one card, then I'm going to go all in. But earlier game, they can get a lot of value out of cards. If they're playing like Deathwing,
Mm-hmm.
Love Love Mellow, and they get to counter your cards, replace itself, or using White Snake to make it awkward for you, and they can survive, and while
Okay.
also taking life to replenish cards when they need it.
Okay.
Um, so I try to keep them at a little bit of a high hand count, and but also not too low.
I see.
Um, and I think that like 5 to 7, is like that sweet spot. So now the reason why I want to keep them in that hand range is because I think one of the cards that like really increases your chance of winning that matchup is dropping Isho,
Mm-hmm.
uh, when they have at least six. Um, and if you keep them, if they're at six when you Isho them, I think it hurts them even more because they have like carefully crafted their hand, to be able to answer what you currently have on board for
Mm-hmm.
potential swings. Where if you rip like two key cards, they potentially could have to take a lot of swings in.
I see.
So Isho is key, and I think the reduction on it you could maybe leverage it off with Brook, but yeah, I think Isho is just here for the hand rip,
Yeah.
and
Makes
then the
sense.
big 9K swing.
Yeah.
Outside
He.
of the keeping their hand count at a certain range, again to like help our chances, we want to be able to clear their board. We cannot let them get Snake Dance value because their hand size we keep it above 3.
Mm-hmm.
They can't really love mellow, to
Mm-hmm.
get value.
Yes.
So the only other like 4K counters they can use is like Gavel
Mm-hmm.
and White Snake.
That's true.
They could level up Mellow if they want to. They just don't get the extra card to draw, so they're like less inclined to do that.
Yeah.
So then the other option is Snake Dance, but if they have nothing on board, then it's just like two Dawn for a
Wasted.
4K counter. Yeah, consider that like a scenario that I want to happen.
Okay.
So by keeping them at that count, if I swing, 9 and they're using their Snake Dances, I'm like, all right, fine. You didn't get to mill any cards from your
Mm-hmm.
deck, draw anything, or gain anything back. So that's why I generally keep them in that range.
I see.
But Brooke, Sanji, Jack, if they play Margarets, Kaya's, Gloriosas, or Das Bones, depending
Mm-hmm.
on their build, I'm clearing the board. Like I'm not even
Okay.
going to swing at them to get any potential Snake Dance value
Mm-hmm.
if they have at least 2 Dawn up.
I
If
see.
they have
Okay.
1 Dawn, I could swing
Okay.
because they can't Snake Dance. Um,
Okay.
so knowing Nami's events, how much Dawn they need and how they try to get value out of their events, really helps, for, in beating Nami.
Okay. Nice. Oh, I hope I don't. Hopefully, Nami is less popular in 8.5 and 9. I don't want to verse them
Yeah,
anymore. They're just
with
annoying.
Dofi, I think so.
Yeah. Hope so. Probably. Yeah. You're right. So yeah, I guess we could just go over the last matchup. One of the most relevant, of course, one of the best decks. Lucci. How do you feel against Lucci? Playing against him.
I think against Lucci, so I've tried Lucci before,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really like the play style of it. It's a really good deck,
Yeah.
and I think Lucci has like one of the highest rolling, play like I guess decks where if they like see 4 Gecko Morias, like the amount of value they get off a Gecko Moria is
Yeah.
absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So if you're playing against Lucci and with my game plan of trying to outvalue them,
Hmm.
I hope they're not seeing four geckos.
Hopefully they trash it
But
all.
yeah, so ideally I want to see in their trash their reduction, like
Hmm.
Ice Ages,
Hmm.
geckos, and Tempest Kicks.
Yes.
Because if those are gone, there's like a higher chance my bigger bodies are like not as easily removed.
Hmm.
But in order to outvalue Lucci, you need to see your Kuzans,
Hmm.
force them to answer it earlier on
Hmm.
by having them use like their Ice Ages or Tempest Kicks, um, and basically playing like a value Moria where you do like Moria into Kuzan and Branu to
Hmm.
potentially draw two cards and have two threats, for them to
Yes,
answer.
for sure.
And you need to have something on board that forces them to use removal,
Okay.
um, so that they're not attacking you as often. Because Jack, in order for him to use his ability, he rests himself. And if
Hmm.
they have a Jack on board, this Jack is not swinging at you, but just KOing your body.
Okay.
Um, so I think that's pretty. At least that's how I'm approaching this. I play threats that they need to answer. If you could play two threats, that's ideal. Um, until they eventually run out of removal.
I see.
Um, I also take, I think like the first three swings against Lucci. Like I don't even care if they're
Yeah.
5Ks. I just the first three swings I get down to two life
Wow.
relatively quickly,
Yeah.
so that I have like a ton of cards in my hand. So like even if they show me, like I still have like a lot of ways to to play my combos like Jack Ice Age or Gecko.
I see.
Um, so I usually take down to two life pretty quickly so that I have, the extra cards to make my combos efficient, but
Hmm.
also counter out of, potentially if they try to swing into my Jack.
Wow. Okay.
Um, but yeah, if the Jack ever sticks, and I have Robin, like I'm definitely playing Robin because they have to answer this. Um, but yeah, I think that matchup is a value game, and you're hoping that the Lucci player, mills a lot of their key cards.
Hmm.
Um, but I think we are a little bit more consistent because we have like a searchable Isho, searchable Kuzan to be able to
Yes.
play these value cards earlier.
Okay. Okay. I do. I think I like that game plan a lot more as opposed to attacking Lucci all the time, since they get a lot of cards in hand too. They typically like to take their life pretty easily as well.
Yeah,
I see.
but I think that the CP package is like searching limited cards. They could
Yes.
search their Tempest Kick, but I think they also want to see their Ice Ages, and they could potentially mill this, in that process. But
Yeah.
we find these with brand new.
All right. Okay. And do you think you're gonna be taking this leader into the 8.5 meta? We're pretty much in it right now by the time of this upload. I would say I think we also have like one more month of this 8.5 until 9. Uh,
Mm.
do you think you'll be playing this leader going forward?
Unfortunately, I mean, we could see if there's like a build that works.
Yeah.
With the new starter decks, there is
Mm-hmm.
a forecast Hina that gives a Dawn to a leader or character,
Mm-hmm.
and when there's a Dawn on the Hina, it becomes like a 8 cost
Mm-hmm.
on your opponent's turn. So there's like a way to activate our leader, a 6K leader on their
Mm-hmm.
turn, very early on, which is like really powerful.
Yeah.
But there are some pretty aggressive decks, I guess mainly Dofi,
Yes.
that can go wide pretty quickly, and we can't KO as efficiently as Nucci can,
Mm-hmm.
which makes that matchup a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you can get like maybe that Hina as like a body that can stick on board,
Yeah.
them going wide and swinging wide is just pretty hard, especially if you take life and then they putting you. They just have like a lot of ways to mess with like our game plan. Like we
Yeah.
can't just like hoard cards in our hand because then they just putting us.
Yep.
They could bounce back our characters, with the new four cost law, and
Yes.
it's just a very hard matchup. So
That's true.
this build, you cannot use this build, I guess, against Sophie.
Too slow.
Um, so I would try to add in like more instant impact
Mm-hmm.
cards, like 3 cost Hina, to
Mm-hmm.
leverage with Brook to
Yep.
pop something, maybe more Sanjis, maybe cut down on the Kuzans because this is like uh, a card that Lucci can, or not Lucci, Dofi can bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
And if you drew a card, you could at that time have like 8 or 9 cards in hand and are just like potential to get pudding, and it's just feels really bad.
I see. Okay.
Um,
Maybe it's time to
yeah,
bring back Gecko. OP06
yeah, I
Gecko.
think Black Moria could actually be pretty decent.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it could leverage the Jack as well as
Oh
some other
yeah.
decks,
Yeah.
but the Perona can go pretty wide
Mhm.
to make them trash cards and make it really awkward for them.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for this interview. Congrats again for top eight. Very, very nice for your second one, right? Your second online?
Yep, it's my second online.
Very nice. Very nice. Congrats. You're going to Nats as well, right?
Yeah, I got to
Yes.
book. No, I got to book my stay.
Fun times in Orlando. Disney.
Mm.
But yeah, thank you again for this interview. This is our second time doing it since I fucked up before. So yeah, thank you for that. Is there any shout outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, I'd like to give us some shout outs. The locals I go to is Gaming Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's like a lot of good players there.
Mm-hmm.
And I started playing the game earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I came in, I think near like the end of OP05, and everyone there has been like pretty helpful to like help me understand, at least like
Mm-hmm.
what to do certain like matchups because there was like a lot to learn.
Yes, a lot.
So that was pretty good. But we also have like some really good players there that at least like the matchups
Mm-hmm.
you have against them, are like you learn a lot.
Yeah,
You learn about like having to do some alternate plays that
for sure.
others wouldn't expect. As like your only way of winning. But yeah, shout outs to I think they have A1, Minjay, Earl, and Dean.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much again. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this deck breakdown of Starter Deck 14 Luffy. I really enjoyed this deck too. It's just been so fun for this set. And we'll see how it goes for 8.5. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.